here we're going to do a Tyco box install fiber to home. You'll most likely see it will not be set up like this out in the field. It will basically be in a pedestal with your fiber. Should have a grounding rod, which we do not have because we're inside, and directionals. First things first is making sure directionals are right according to the map, which will be further discussed when maps are available for each different project. Here we got green going east, orange going north. First things first is to make sure ducts are in place properly. You got your ground, and then enough fiber and nothing seems to be damaged when it was pulled in. When you come up to a pedestal, you'll have to knock out a couple holes for the fiber box, which we can show you a little later. There's going to be one up top and then one on the bottom right below this grounding rod here. I don't know if you can see. And there'll be one right down there. First things first, get rid of your tails. Don't ever want tails. And then open up the coil that has been provided to you. So now that we cut the coil, kind of want to nicely get it out of the way. Get your box installed. We're going to open it up. You'll have a bag of goodies we'll get into. This comes up in a couple different sections. First thing, there's a bolt down here you have to remove. What I do is remove everything in the beginning. Bottom support bar, drop support, and then your tray. So now you get an empty box. This is what seals the cable coming into the box, which you'll want to kind of cut open. Set aside for a moment. Basically just cut the top there. Next thing you want to do, obviously this side is going to go east, this side's going to go north. We come up, we do not. What you want is your clamp to be around this T, and then around the solid cable. So you do not want to break down past where your clamp is going to go. You can cause some damage to the fiber. So you can mark it in a couple different ways. I make a notch with the snips on both sides, both areas. What I normally do, I normally go on the top of the T, so I have more than enough room on the bottom when I rip it down and clamp it. Another way a lot of people do is tape. You can tape it down and you rip down to the tape, top of your tape. Next step is to actually rip down the cable, and that's what I'll be doing for the next couple moments. Now that we got the cable all broken out, The next step is to put on your strength members, which will come in a little package with everything that you need here. This is for the mainline cable. You'll need the long piece, gator clamps, all 3 nuts that are provided, and the orange cap. Basically, this goes on afterwards, but to put this together is that you have your back gator clamp with the stud, and then this backing place will go like that with the teeth facing back on the back side, and then your gator clamp, your front gator clamp, and one of the bolts. Next thing I'm going to do is actually put this on both cables. You want it on the most front side that's going to be facing out of the box. Tighten up to where you don't have to hold on to it. Tighten it down. Make sure no fibers are in the way. Next step, your strength member. You can shorten it up. It will be attaching to the back side of this. We'll have a cap that actually hugs the strength member, holding it down. Get it in place. Make sure no fibers are behind it so they won't get pinched. All clear. Cut it at the top, like so. And your cap will come in. Again, no fibers. Gonna be pinched. Probably want to get that green out. No fibers gonna be pinched. And your cap knot. Next step is to tape. And you want to cover the entire armor here. Come all the way down. Have it make it look nice. I'm going to do the same to the other side here. Next thing we're going to do is put on the ground straps for grounding the main cable coming in. It's your third bolt here with a ground strap. But first, before we do that, we got to run the ground straps, which in the center of this cushion is a grommet right behind here. That is where your grounds actually come up into the box, right through this grommet. We want to keep the grommet so it seals. One goes in, other goes in, and then you feed it up through the bottom here, and it'll come up right about there. Make sure your grommet is sealed. All the way around, and then you can come up and attach this ground to this cable, just like so. This ground to this cable. This is a key thing before we get too further, is labeling our grounds. I found it easier to label grounds and tags all at the same time. This cable's going north, this cable's going east. So we want a few easts, a few norths, and 3 blues. Blues is going towards CO. In this case, according to the map, we're going to actually say that north is going to the CO, or coming from the CO. So this side, the blue, come from the CO, is going to be your splice side. You want to splice onto this side, come from the CO. So you'll want one here, identifying ground, north, identifying ground, and same way identifying outside the box. So this cable going north, this one's going east. So we want to do the same thing on the other end of the ground. Other side, going east, identifying ground. Your other one going east. And then the next is labeling. One side is your CO north. The other side is going east. Tags here. So it'll be, this is a 72 count, so we'll go BFO 72. Going north, CO, and then your count. We're gonna go 1 through 72. Again, your count will depend on what kind of map or where your number's at. That'll be further instructed. BFO 72 going east. And again, whatever's leaving, your count, it all depends on the map, what your count will be. This one we want to, when the box is closed, we want it below here, between the duct and the box. So when they open it up, they don't have to open it up, drop the tray down of what fiber is actually here. Next step is to put on the labels. Your identifying tag, always leave on, never cut off or change unless told by a manager that's on the project. We do a little cleanup here. For some reason is my favorite part. We got our grounds on, labeled. Next thing is to actually put these, get them set into the box using a clamp behind this little T to hold it in place here. And that's what I'll be doing right now. Oh, your box of goodies will come with all your clamps, felt. It comes with gator clamps. Again, it's depends on what project you're on, whether you'll need these or not. Today we won't need these. This is another way to do the hold downs. Again, depending on what fiber to home project that we're doing. This, instead of these gator clamps holding the strength member down, which is genius way, they have these, and your strength member will be actually held down like in a case with an eyelet, with one of these. And then I'll hold that down to the strength member. And that just goes right under the spot that's right above the clamp area. But we do not use these for these upcoming projects. I grab all the hardware in one hand. The tubes we won't need. This, your drop ground hold downs. Essentially the same thing. Your drops will come up, you tie off, and the strength member hold downs will be pinched here with a clamp and a bolt. Just like so. And to get these out of my hand, I just fill them in all the way. Looks a lot cleaner with all these tightened down. So your end product will be like so. If you have grounds, we're not to, or if you have drops, we're not to ground drops yet. And then that leaves with two clamps. What I do, set the clamp in place. Have the clamp to the inside of the box, so it's nice and easy to get your tool or your handheld 1/4 inch bit in there to tighten it up. And then, before we actually get into there, we got to put our grommet on, which goes around the cable, and it slides right nice and tight, both sides. Make sure it's seated in properly. And then come up put the clamp behind the T and tighten it down to the box. Oop, before you go too much farther. We want to put the caps on just on the top to protect the fiber tubes. It's on drill. We don't want drill. Boom, just like that. Next step, what I normally do is hook these up to the ground posts, get this all settled out of the way. These would normally be up around the pedestal, laying on the back side so it's not in the way, but being inside, different story. So you'll have your ground to your pedestal grounding post straight to the back, and then you'll have grounding, which will be shown, and then another stud that's on the pedestal is for your drop grounds, which will be shown in a later video. This video, we're just doing a prep from here on out. If there was no drop, there was no well, if just prepping, this is it. We do a couple wraps on that side. Couple wraps. If you keep wrapping one side, just like in a case, it will become tangled. So it is key to do a little bit on one side and then finish it off on the other side, or however it kind of works out. This prep I did was extremely big. But your end results would be like so. That bolts with a 7/16 right here onto this nut facing up. If you had drop grounds or drop going to houses, this is where you would measure out your drops, strip them down, cut them down, put the 2 strength members through here, get them all tightened up. A zip tie instead of a clamp holds down the drop. So instead of the clamp, a zip tie, black zip tie, white zip tie, no colored zip ties will be on drops. And then we normally ground out the drops outside of the case. Black strap to hold the label or the tray, but we do want to label the tray of ped number, and then this side, these cables, which would go on here. If we're just prepping, nothing has to be on here. If we can, maybe label each tray of the ped number, and then the splicer who actually comes and splices and puts the tubes in the trays will do all the labeling. But this side will be north, CO, and this side would be east, 72, 72, so on and so forth. That just flips up, straps in like that. Seven sixteenths here again. Doesn't have to be uber tight, just enough to where water or mice won't get in. Grounds would already be done. Labeling's already done. Last thing to do, shut the case. Hook it from the top first. Come down, press down, make sure it's all the way down. And sometimes it can be a pain to find the bolt. Make sure it's all nice and tight. Lid will go over the ped, and you're on to the next one.